Hola clase! Today, we will learn when to use the preterite versus the imperfect tense. Do you remember that Spanish has two simple past tenses? Yes, both past tenses are used for specific situations. As a rule of thumb, when you want to express things like I walked, I studied, I spoke, use the preterite. If instead you want to say I was walking, I was studying, I was speaking, I used to walk, I used to study, I used to speak, use the imperfect. This is not a concrete rule, but it works in most instances. Now, let's go deeper into when to use the preterite versus the imperfect when telling a story. The imperfect is used for description. As you learned in past lessons, the imperfect is used to express repeated, habitual, or usual actions in the past, describe actions that were ongoing in the past, and describe what things were like in the past, how they used to be. Along these same lines, the imperfect is used to describe conditions of time, people, and places in the past. In other words, to give a description. The imperfect gives all the background information for when you are explaining a story. The order of events with the imperfect is often unimportant. Examples: Cuando vivía en Barranquilla. When I used to live in Barranquilla. Había un festejo. There was a party. Él era guapo con pelo largo. He was handsome with long hair. The preterite, in the other hand, is used for narration. If the order of events is important to advance a past narration, use the preterite. The preterite focuses on what actions happened first and last in a story. Ejemplos: Cuando llegué a la casa, inmediatamente me fijé en su amigo. When I arrived home, immediately I noticed her friend. De repente, la música sonó y todos buscaron parejas para bailar. Suddenly, the music played and everyone looked for a dancing partner. When telling a story, the preterite is used to facilitate the events. This shows that one action was completed before the next one began. You can use time expressions to indicate the order of events such as primero, antes, después, luego, entonces. Ejemplos: Primero llegué a la casa. I first arrived home. Después conocí a Ladislao, luego bailamos. After I met Ladislao, then we danced. Depending on how you combine the preterite and the imperfect, you are expressing a different meaning, because the tenses themselves have different relations to time. In English, these distinctions have to be expressed by means of adverbs or prepositional phrases. But in Spanish, the choice of preterite or imperfect expresses not just that the action happened in the past, but also how the action happened. When you want to convey that two actions were ongoing at the same time in the past, you use the imperfect tense. You will often see the words mientras and y to show that these actions were in progress simultaneously. Ejemplos: La banda tocaba música tradicional y mis tíos se sentían nostálgicos. The band was playing traditional music and my aunts and uncles were feeling nostalgic. Mis hermanos y yo comíamos pastel mientras los adultos bebían champán. My siblings and I were eating cake while the adults were drinking champagne. When you want to convey a series of completed actions in the past, you use the preterite tense for each of them. It is very important that the events are stated in order of what happened first. Ejemplos. Mi tía se levantó a bailar. El tacón de su zapato se rompió y ella se cayó. My aunt got up to dance. The heel of her shoe broke off and she fell. Mi tío la salvó antes de tocar el piso. La levantó y la hizo girar por un momento. My uncle caught her before she touched the floor. He lifted her up and twirled her for a moment. When you want to show that an action was in progress when another action began, you use the imperfect for the continuous action and the preterite for the interrupting action. Ejemplos. Nuestra prima bailaba con mi hermano cuando su novio llegó a la fiesta. Our cousin was dancing with my brother when her boyfriend arrived at the party. El novio se estaba poniendo celoso hasta que yo le expliqué la situación. The boyfriend was getting jealous until I explained the situation. Yo les explicaba la lección cuando me tuve que ir. I was explaining the lesson when I had to go. Eso fue todo por hoy, clase. Hasta luego.